Hey everyone, it's the Mana Shark here. It's been a while. Yeah, a couple of years since I actually put out a real video, so I thought, why not jump back into the game? I've been playing Magic all this time, and just now feel like the huge desire to share Magic content. So we're going to talk about an amazing deck that got 10th place at Grand Prix Minneapolis, piloted by Dan Ward. And it's a standard competitive deck for only $122 TCG mid, and can be actually way cheaper. We'll talk about that later. Not necessarily the most fun deck to play. However, it's competitive, and I know some people, especially on the more casual side, like to have a fun deck for FNM and a more competitive deck. And one thing I love about this deck is there are actually only 2 cards that rotate out. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So let's just dive into it, right? So yeah, the deck is absolutely creatureless, meaning your opponent's removal is just dead. Like Abrade doesn't do anything, Magma Spray doesn't do anything, and that's a huge selling point for a control deck. As someone who played a ton of blue-black control back in Khan's Fate, having no creatures in a control deck, or only one creature with that's almost impossible to take out, just makes it so much better, because you don't have to counter so many spells if they don't even have a use to cast them. Basically, you go 1 for 1 with your opponent's threats, with removal spell for their dude, and stuff like that. And then the Abrades, the Magma Sprays, all those removal spells that they can't even use, or they can't even use efficiently, almost count, kind of just sit in their hand, and you actually generate what I like to call dead card advantage, which is just as good as drawing cards. And on top of that, you're drawing cards, so your card advantage is going to be insane. So the deck starts off with 4 Aether Meltdown as just a great removal spell, 3 Approach of the Second Sun, your win condition, and how it works is basically it's a 7 mana sorcery, so big commitment, and you might run into a counter spell. Luckily, you have things to back it up, and 7 mana sorcery. Cast it the first time, gain 7 to, buy you some time off the bat. And the second time, you win the game. Yeah, whether you cast it the first time, put it 7 cards down, and draw it again and cast it again and win. That's one way. Or you could cast it and then draw a different copy of it, cast it. It doesn't care about the same copy of it. It's just a creatureless win condition. It's amazing. We have 4 Blessed Alliance. Blessed Alliance is one of the 2 cards in the main deck that rotate out. It's great, gaining 4 life, making them sack an attacking creature, and I'm sure there's going to be a card in Ixalan that can replace it. 3 Cast Out being a supreme removal spell that also cycles, and once you cast your first approach, being able to cycle into the second if you don't need Cast Out to buy you time by removing a creature, that's a huge asset. Really great card in this deck. And then we have 4 Censor, a 4 spike that can cycle, same thing again. You can get use out of it to buy you time to draw into your approach. You can flat out just cycle it, and you can cycle it if you're low on land drops, which is another great thing about this deck, because a lot of times control decks actually need way more than the average land count, especially if you're trying to cast a 7 mana spell and maybe hold up mana to protect it. So yeah, Censor is just, fantastic card. We have 4 Fumigate. You don't really have too many ways to interact with the board if you don't have creatures to block. So yeah, Fumigate just gives you a way to play catch up, gain life, take some hits, and it's exactly what this deck needs a full 4. We have 4 Glimmer of Genius. There's nothing to do with the energy, just a solid instant speed draw spell. We have Hieroglyphic Illumination as another instant speed draw spell that cycles. It's a little weird cycling it, but it'll make sense if you're missing a land drop, or when it comes to Approach of the Second Suns, if you have 8 mana and it's on top. Like, there are a lot of situations where cycling it is the right move. 4 Supreme Wills. Supreme Will is just a great card, countering a spell, and helps you dig for your approach. And also, if you're not looking for approach for some reason, you could also look for, your Cast Out or whatever to deal with the threat at hand. You have 2 Unsummon. It sounds awful, but it's exactly what this deck needs. It's just 2 Unsummon to buy just a little bit more time. And then for your lands, we have 2 Blighted Cataract, the other card in the main deck that is rotating out. Just a fantastic land, and gets you a lot of late game value. And because it's only 2 colors, you can very easily run 2 of these without being punished mana-wise. You have 4 Irrigated Farmland, just another dual lands that can help you cycle towards approach. See a theme? You have 9 islands, 6 plains, and 4 Prairie Stream. Sorry, a third card that rotates out of this deck, but it will be replaced immediately with Glacial Fortress, so I'll barely count that. And then onto our sideboard, we have 4 Authority of the Consuls as a way to stop red. This deck actually has a 10-card sideboard plan, and it's actually a great sideboard plan anyway to beat red. So you have 4 Authority of Consuls, 1 Descent upon the Sinful against your mid-range decks. You have 2 Hour of Revelation for your mid-range decks, Black-Green Constrictor, those sort of things. 2 Linvala, the Preserver, that's part of your red plan. And also, a lot of times they board, knowing that you have 0 creatures, decks actually board out all of their removal, and then you could bring in things like Linvala, even though normally they're pretty vulnerable, and like you can't necessarily rely on them as a win condition. Say in the control matchup where they board out a ton of their removal, you could maybe even bring in some Linvalas as just win conditions 4 through 5. You have 2 Negate. Negate's great. Wow, that rhymes. Negate is great though, and being able to counter non-creature spells in the control matchup, you have to definitely fight to get your approach to resolve. You have 2 Regal Caracal. Get some life-linking cats going against red. It's pretty solid. And then you have 2 Torrential Gearhulks for the control matchups, and some mid-range decks you can bring it in, but yeah, it's mainly just there for control, to be able to, whether it's flashing back a approach of the Second Sons or a counterspell to get your approach to resolve. There's just a lot of that's actually the most expensive part, is the 2 copies of it. If you cut 2 copies of it, that's cutting $40 out of the $122 deck. Then you have an $80 deck. Most of it survives rotation, and the cards you're buying pre-rotation that will rotate, it's not that much. You're paying about $16, but rotation doesn't happen until late September anyway, so you still get a lot of value out of that. So if you're looking for a great deck to take to FNM, to take to a Star City IQ, take a look. This is a great deck. There is some room to toggle around with it, but it took 10th place at a Grand Prix for such a low budget deck. Without further ado, this is the Mana Shark back at it again, making videos, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about this deck, and I'll be sure to put out some more videos. Peace.